Hi everybody, I'm Stephanie Rice, Psychic Medium. This is part 2 of my talkumentary. I told you that I was going to start from the very beginning and I really meant it. So what I'm going to start with is my first memory. Most children, their first memories are from when they are 4, 5. Some people have memories as early as 2 or 3. Mine were when I was a baby. I can remember lying in my crib in the nursery, and we lived on a main street in Altoona on 7th Avenue above my great-grandmother. And I would lay in my crib at night, and I would be laying there awake, and there were a lot of the big trucks that would come through on that road in the middle of the night. And I remember hearing the sound of the trucks coming, and then I would watch the lights play on the ceiling above my crib as the trucks passed. My next memory was of being like a year old and running around in the hallway, wearing my dad's shoes and clomping around, playing in the yard, and doing all kinds of various things. I had a dream, which I remember when I was a baby, which is kind of odd, but I remember this dream and it terrified me. We were outside of my great-grandmother's house, and my mom had me, and this woman pulls up, and she gets out of the car, and she takes me away from my mother, and she puts me in the back seat. And I'm in the back seat with my hands on the windows, and I'm trying to scream as she's driving away with me, but I can't. Nothing's coming out. And sometime after that, I know I was young, my mom was holding me, and my Aunt Junie, well, she was my great aunt, she believed that I was not my father's daughter. She thought that I was her son's daughter, who is my dad's cousin. And she was arguing with my mom outside of the house, and she actually reached for me and tried to take me out of my mother's arms. And I had had that dream about her, and I was terrified, so I just remember clinging to my mom, like, no way, you're not letting this lady take me. Um, my next memory is when I was about, I probably wasn't even 2 yet. And my cousin and I were sitting in what was our living room, and we had a recliner that was in the corner. And we were sitting in front of the recliner for some reason, and all of a sudden we see these like Mickey Mouse hands pop up from behind the chair, and they're all different colors, and they start popping up and playing with us and doing all these crazy things. And I remember looking at him like, do you see that? And he was looking at me like, do you see that? And we were so entertained by it. And then my Aunt Sherry came around the corner, and she's like, what are you guys doing? And we looked at her like to tell her what was going on, and when we looked back, the hands were gone. We never really talked about it. I remember being very aware as a child, very much older than my actual age. So I know that my soul, when I came into this world, was already awakened and very old. I have a lot of memories of being young, under 5, and I started seeing spirits. After the Mickey Mouse hand incident, I started seeing people that everyone else didn't see. And the first one was a little girl, and I called her Baby. I don't know if that was her name, or I don't even know who she was, but she was my best friend. And she followed me everywhere. Um, I remember we would go to the drive-in all the time, and I would take her with us and want her to be seat belted in with me, um, and want a place set for her at the table so she could eat with us. And my parents just thought, oh, it's an imaginary friend, like most kids have. But she wasn't imaginary at all. we had moved from that apartment into a house in Garden Heights, which is where I spent most of my childhood. And that house itself had spirits in it when we moved in, but there were also spirits around me all of the time. And I remember going to bed at night, and there would be anywhere from 10 to 20 spirits standing around my bed. Some good, some didn't seem so good, and I would be terrified. So I really liked stuffed animals, and I had a lot of them. And so I would barricade myself in my bed and make a little stuffed animal fortress around me as I was under the covers, and that was my protection from them. And it worked. It kept them from bothering me. It kept them from doing anything. And I didn't know what they wanted, and I didn't really understand. And when I was a child, the paranormal, the TV shows, all of the understanding and acceptance of it was not there. You didn't hear about mediums or psychics or any of those things when I was a kid. So to tell my parents, hello, there's dead people in my room, which I didn't even realize that they were dead. I just knew that my parents couldn't see them, was something that was not going to go over too well. And they just assumed that my fears were from movies I had watched or, just my imagination of sleeping alone in my room, but they weren't. And they were always trying to kind of get to me, and I didn't understand why. And they would talk to me, and they would stand there and just stare at me like, you're supposed to know that we're here. You're supposed to talk to us and help us. But being a child and not understanding anything about that, never having anyone to tell me, hey, there are spirits, people when they die, they're still here, I was very scared, very confused, and I didn't talk about it. Most of my childhood friends and people that knew me growing up had no idea what I could do or that I had any gifts like that at all. I do remember things would happen, like my friends and I, we would play this game, light as a feather, stiff as a board, where you lay one person down, everybody puts their finger underneath, and you say light as a feather, stiff as a board over and over again. The object of the game was that the person would levitate. And I can remember it never worked when they were doing it and I was the one laying down. But one time we were doing that and it actually started working. And my friend started lifting up off the floor, and she was probably a couple inches off the floor at the time. And we all kind of panicked and pulled our fingers out, and she hit the ground and was like, what the heck just happened? And, not understanding those things, we're thinking this is just a game. And then it really wasn't a game. For me, I always had experiences and spirits, and I would tell my mom things. I can remember my sister and I used to be so afraid to sleep upstairs by myself. So my mom, she moved me into my sister's room, which was down the hall from their room downstairs, for a temporary period. And my sister and I were laying there, and we slept. We had our own beds, but we always slept in the same one. And we would tickle each other's arms and legs and all kinds of stuff till we fell asleep. One night we were laying there, and we were tickling each other's arms, and we heard this noise. And I don't even know how old I was at that time. I was probably 8. She was probably 4. I have no idea. But we hear this noise, and we look, and we saw, both of us saw, like a severed hand, like going along across the floor. And we panicked, and I was so scared I couldn't even get out of the bed. And I'm laying there like trying to yell for my mom, like, Mom, and nothing's coming out. And she's laying there like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die. Like the hand's gonna get us. And I don't remember what happened. I don't know if I got up and ran to my mom's room. I don't know if we yelled and my mom came over. But I remember that happening, and the fact that she saw the same thing um, was pretty scary. And I know imagination is something when you're a child, but the things that I saw on a daily basis and the things that we experienced, aren't normal for that type of thing. So, let's see. Growing up, I had what I would say was probably one of the best childhoods ever. We lived in a neighborhood where it was predominantly young kids our age, all different age groups. We were friends with everyone in the neighborhood. Everyone knew who we were and watched out for us. We were always outside. We were always playing chase, playing bloody murder, riding bikes, playing softball, uh, having races in the alley, always running, always out doing things. And we had a really good childhood, I have to say. And then when I was about 16, my mom, she wasn't happy with the house we were in. She wanted to do some renovations, make it bigger, build a family room, things like that. And my dad was pretty much content with the way that it was. And we weren't rich by any means, but we definitely were okay. We did well. We didn't really struggle. We had everything we needed, we wanted. We got to go do things. So my dad hesitantly decided to sell the house, which my sister and I tried to talk him out of because we had grown up in the house. We loved that house and we did not want to leave. And still to this day, if it ever went up for sale and either one of us had the capability of buying it, I'm damn sure that we would buy it just to have it. And we moved to a house near the Hench Brothers. And it was a gorgeous house. It was great, and we loved it. But it was different. And I guess I'll stop from there for today. So that's part 2. Stay tuned for part 3, which will be, within the next day or so. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.